We're recording. Well, thank you for attending, everyone. You're going to be joining me for 3 tips to make your phone battery last longer for lunch and learn. I've got a small group here. Hopefully more people will see this online afterwards. Just sort of start with a bit of introduction. I'm Paul Bolte from Entire Computer Services. Plenty of people that are around here have seen me over time. I'm also the Vice President here at Canvas Co-working at the moment, and as well as being a concierge. And you've seen me at lunch and learn plenty of times because I look after the recordings and technology. So there's going to be a couple of different components to this event, this lunch and learn. The first one's going to be a slideshow presentation, just telling you a bit about batteries, charging and problems and things to look out for and not look out for in regards to batteries and charging and phones. And then the second part will be a hands-on, and I'll actually connect my phone and I'll bring it up on screen and demonstrate on the phone that I've got. It's not my phone, it's a spare phone I've got, to show where you can find certain settings and stuff. Now, unfortunately, every phone's got their own little intricacies. Some brands have a fairly stock setup. Some other brands have a lot of not customization, but their own version of the way they do things. Apple, Android, it's much less. They all use batteries. They all suffer the same troubles. And Apples do not suffer battery troubles anywhere near as much as Androids because they're optimized very well in the first place. But having said that, they still do die over time. Android's primarily what I use, and that's what I'll focus on today. Just because you do somewhat certain way to look at settings on an Android doesn't mean with a bit of work you won't find it on an Apple. So I thought I'd cover some of the stuff first, just the battery basics. The basics of phone physical battery size, milliamp hours, that's what MAH stands for, and how different ones compare. Now, we've all seen different batteries out there. You've got, over the years, I don't know if you remember 10 years ago, phones were physically smaller and batteries are smaller. They're directly relative. If you have a small phone, small screen size is what uses a lot of battery power. The bigger the screens have got, the bigger the batteries have got. Now you look here in this little pile of recyclable batteries. There's a whole variety in there, some which clip on the back. You remember the old flip phones and candy bar phones? You click it on and what have you. They moved from that into batteries about up to about 5 years ago, where you could put your battery in, you could take the back on and off. As phones have moved on to have more esteem about them and what have you, to look better, they're putting glass backs on, metal backs, they're enclosing batteries inside phones for a couple of different reasons. To stop consumers replacing their own batteries. The manufacturers want to have level of control of that, and that's a marketing approach, as well as in the past, have you ever had a battery in your phone with a battery in? You drop your phone, just a little drop on the floor, next thing your battery flies out and your phone's off. There's several reasons why they have put batteries inside phones and made them a permanent thing inside there. Oh, and for waterproofness too. If you're having battery covers coming on and off, you're not going to have a waterproof phone because your seal will end up failing. Size. Now, they measure, as I've already said, batteries vary physically in size, but not always, but usually, if a phone is physically bigger in size, it has a bigger milliamp hour size. Now, basically, the bigger the number when it comes to MAH is the more powerful the more power it can give and the longer it can last for. If you buy cheap, I'm not talking, this is not just phones, by the way, this is in anything that takes batteries, rechargeable batteries. Be careful. If you bought a decent brand battery, not that you can always tell when you look inside your phone, but if you could buy a decent brand battery, you can buy some of your really cheap Chinese ones they might be physically large and they have printed on them quite a large milliamp hours, but when you actually use them, they don't give the same results. And I can go as far as to say, some even the Chinese batteries, you can actually get AA's and AAA lithium-ion batteries. I have them. You can get 18650s. They're a common lithium-ion battery. They go inside laptops. In fact, I'll bring one up here. Before I get to the 18650s, I'll tell you a story about them. I'll just cover these. So that's what a phone battery is. Now, you can't see a brand on that as such. Usually there's not a brand. It could be in there somewhere. It's made in China. Nearly everything's made in China. That's a pouch version. You've probably seen lithium-ion batteries that come out of a laptop. They're in cylinders. This, in fact, no, this is often called lithium polymer. Yeah, there it is, lithium-ion polymer. The polymer bit indicates that it's a flat pouch. I'll explain later that one of the problems that flat pouches cause and the benefit, one of the big benefits of a flat pouch is it fits in a phone. You can't easily put a cylindrical battery in a phone, and if you do, you've got air pockets which waste space. Now, they even use the same thing as on laptops. This one here is an internal laptop battery. Years ago, you used to be able to remove, well, not years ago, up until a couple of years ago, you could remove your battery from your laptop, just unclip it and pull it off and put another one on. But now, chances are yours has got, I think I've seen yours doesn't have a removable battery, does it? Oh, you don't know, you can never take it off.
It's 2 years old, so probably not. Less than 2 years old. Yeah,
it's probably got a lithium polymer, one of these batteries, which is inside, the same as a mobile phone, and yours definitely will have. The smaller the machine, the more they do this because they're space saving. But you can see the similarities here. They just use the same thing. It's obviously just a lot bigger. That's like, that is probably about that size. Okay. Sorry about the granularity of the pictures here. This is the old type of laptop battery that you used to be able to get, which is that, and that's what's inside it. Just these round cylinders which have air pockets which waste space. And that's technology moving forward. Coincidentally, Tesla's used massive banks of these cylindrical batteries, and as a result, they have air pockets, but they fill that with coolant anyway. Okay. Now we'll move on to charging, different charging methods, types, and gadgets. We've got a whole heap of pictures and slides here of different things you can do to charge your phone and keep your charge and batteries and all sorts of things. I've got some here I have in the flesh that I can show you, but let's just cover some of them. You've probably seen most of them. The good old power brick with the USB adapter. This one comes out the side, that one's out the top. They're all different. That's a common one for Samsung. They often do that. That's probably a Nokia, who knows. In years gone by, they used to have cables that were connected permanently, hardwired into the power supply, and now they separate them. That's because as USB technologies change, you can use your old chargers to a point now where Apple don't even sell a power supply, a power charger with your phone. And they try to say, oh no, we're trying to save the environment and stuff. They're trying to save their bottom dollar, in my opinion. Okay, you've seen those. Okay, then we move on to these. We've seen these things. That's a car one. There's a couple of things I want to tell you about a car adapter. That particular brand, Anker, is a very good brand if you want to buy decent brands in adapters. Notice how this one's got it's very flush. You've probably seen ones which have a big bump or something larger that hangs out outside the car, the cigarette lighter adapter. The reason these are good is because they fit flush and they don't stick out. Because anything that sticks out, like a USB drive in a car, which has hands moving around, needs to get broken off, the same as those can get stressed if they're sticking out. Funny thing, USB was never designed to be put in cars. USB is a connection which does not handle being jiggled and moved around very much. And mind you, cigarette lighters aren't much better anyway. They're not particularly reliable either. And one day they'll move to something better, but that's why these things, they can wear out. They can simply wear out because their car jiggles around. That's a 12-volt one. You get different amperages that come from these sockets. I'd say you're probably familiar with that. the higher the amperage, the more faster it's going to charge your phone. One trade-off of having higher amps is more heat, and when you have more heat, the equipment and the cables get hot and cold, and the plastics around it get brittle, and they start to break and fall apart. USB-C can do some massive power, taking up to 100 watts, which is very, very high. Like that, the phones you have here could probably do 30 watts at best. So there's a lot of room there, but heat will become a problem. Like at your home, you've probably seen these multiple output power supplies. They can be really handy because you're only using one power socket. But sometimes you look at these, they'll have a rating of so many milliamp hours, how much you can output on the sockets. But you've got to make sure you look at it and say, is that, you need to know what your phone is, because phones have ratings. But these sometimes have a total for all 4 sockets. So if you've got a 4 amp, this is a 4 amp total, and it's only 1 amp per socket. Your phones can charge up to about 3 amps. So sometimes they're not real good. The cheap Chinese ones, they use all sorts of little tactics like that to try and hide the fact that they're not particularly up to spec.
Does it matter if the output is lower than what your phone will take? Just means it takes
no, it just simply takes. Yeah, it simply takes longer.
It just takes longer. Okay.
Yeah.
The charge is still.
It'll work fine. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
No, it's
so
not
people who will not charge on anything, if it says it's supposed to be 1.5, then they've got a 1.5 plug, and they won't do it.
That doesn't matter. If it's got a USB socket, you can plug it in and you can charge. You can get really, really tiny, old ones, really tiny ones. That might take 24 hours to fully charge a modern phone.
Yeah, but sometimes like I plug my phone in at night and it's going to be on like charging all night. Probably want a smaller one because otherwise it's charged in 2 hours and then just sits there for 6 hours.
Yeah.
That doesn't, in my opinion, that probably doesn't matter, because there's going to be times when you do want fast charge and it doesn't deteriorate. There's the heat issue I was talking about, but
Does it cost you money?
for the total charge, no. To charge your phone from here to here costs the same amount, where that takes, there might be a little bit, maybe 10 cents more. It's not a big issue.
Light that's on the whole time is plugged in as opposed to the back.
And don't be worried. A lot of people, well, I'm covering a lot of issues. I'm going to diverge a lot.
That's fine.
A lot of people worry, if you plug your phone and leave it plugged in, it's going to overcharge the phone.
Yeah.
No, batteries, phones, and anything that has lithium ion in it, because lithium ion is dangerous. It's a lot of power in a little package and it can burn. I'm sure you've heard of it. Explode, burn, kill people, whatever it is. They have a thing called a BMS, a battery management system. And even in back here, where were they? See, these ones, every one of those little cells has a chip in it which controls how much charge can go in and can come out. And then the other ones, the pouch ones, they've all got battery management systems. Don't be worried about overcharging. There's more important things to worry about in life than that.
So does it affect battery life? That was I was
no, lithium,
okay.
no.
Okay, excellent. Let's say stop worrying about it.
With batteries, you have a battery, you can last, you would have seen 1,000 charges for a battery. Now 1,000 charges, let's say if you go plug and you're 50%, then you unplug it and then you plug it in over there, or another 20% and then another 30%. That's not 3 charges, that's 1 charge. It's from 0 to 100% cumulative. So don't be worried about that sort of stuff. And the life of a phone, especially with Androids, a battery at best on an Android will last 3 or 4 years. And if it does last that long, chances are there's going to be other stuff on the phone you either won't want, you want to upgrade, whatever be the case. And sometimes it's just not worth replacing a battery when you can go, depends how much money you've got, I suppose. It's just, unfortunately, it's just the way the world works. Okay. There's another option for charging, and that's wireless. Some of the newer phones have wireless. So I've got a Google Pixel there. It's got wireless charging built in. And these are 2 different types of wireless chargers. You just simply, with this one, you just sit it on top there and you hope you've got them in the middle, basically so it'll charge. You've seen them, you've seen wireless chargers? Have you got one?
Yours, yeah, I've got one separate. You said we've got one.
Yeah. So is that a wireless charging phone, is it?
Yeah.
Yours and those? Okay, so you're familiar with those ones. The problem with those ones, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, is if your phone's off a bit, it doesn't charge.
Yeah, when you sit it on there though, it lights up.
Yeah,
And
but
then
if
you
you
know it's right.
but if you bump it or something, it moves a little bit. You come back in the morning, oh, it's not charged. That is painful. You start work at 20%.
Yeah.
This one overcomes that problem because it's on a stand. It locates in the exact position you require. They're saved a risk of that, especially if it's in a location. Most people put their phone chargers in a fairly heavily trafficked area of the house, like a kitchen, a bench in the family room, kitchen, and things are moving around, and that could be a risk for that. This overcomes that. I actually have mine sitting on like a couch. I had one sitting on a couch, and I was even knocking this thing over, so I put magnets on there to hold it in place. Anyway, that's that one. And they come also in different wattages as well, and as technology is moving on, the wattages are increasing. And that wattage means wattage or amperage, which is faster charging. Okay. Power banks. I want to talk a little bit about power banks. They can vary far and wide. I remember once upon a time, this and this was about the only thing you could get when it comes to power banks. You know what power banks are. They're a power source which you just plug in and it'll exhaust the battery to charge your phone. Now there's many different versions of power banks that go from little ones like that, square ones, big fat ones. I had one of those. You've probably seen that one I had. That's a massive one. That's can charge my phone wirelessly about 3 times, or plugged in about 4 times. Wireless, I should point out, wireless is not an efficient technology. With all the conversion and all the converting from electricity to magnetic, because it uses a magnetic field with a magnetic field receiver to convert. Whenever you convert something to something, some other form and back, you have losses. Wireless is really quite what they call lossy. Whereas a battery is much more efficient if you have a direct connection. I just want to point out a few advantages and disadvantages of what you see here. Is there any obvious, if they're exactly the same, is there any obvious disadvantage between any one of those that you could see? Just by physically looking at it?
It's got a round thing inside of it, it's wasting space.
Maybe, yeah. What would you have? Why would you want a round one or a square one though? If you're going to have one?
I have a square one.
Why?
Doesn't run away.
Yes, spot on. Yeah, round. People don't realise they go and they go, oh, there's a cheap one. They get a round one, and then the next thing it rolls off the bench down in the gutter or something. Yeah, round. That's a major difference
there.
there.
Oval. See, there you go.
No, oval will be fine because it won't roll away.
Yeah, I thought it looked more oval, so
round.
there you go. Okay.
I just wanted to put that in there because I thought that's a simple thing people don't look at. They go to the cell, they go, I need a battery charger, there's a square one around, I'll just grab this one.
Okay.
People don't think. They use micro USB to charge them, and then you have your normal cable to charge whatever. Now, Apples don't necessarily work on power banks. You've got to have a specific standard, and I don't know exactly what that is, but it's very difficult to get Apple to work on non-Apple chargers, which includes these. I can sometimes, but not always.
And yesterday we've got a power bank for the podcasting desk. Like, yeah.
What? And it wouldn't charge?
No, it does. I found it yesterday.
Right. Yep. But did you say there was a problem with it?
No.
Oh, you said
Didn't realise it was there.
I didn't know it was
there.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this one, it's a massive one. Now, this is a bit unique. These ones are hardwired. This one has a couple of sockets in the end for hardwired, but it also has a wireless built into it. Because some people, my wife's a prime example, she's always, every opportunity she gets, she's worried about battery power, so she's plugging her phone in all the time. And she's someone that needs to have wireless because after 3 years of plugging her phone in 10 times a day, she kills the sockets on her phone, so it's not worth fixing a 3-year-old phone with a wrecked socket. So I had to try and get her onto wireless. So that's why wireless can be really handy, especially with power because it jiggles around in your pocket. USBs don't like being bumped around your pockets, especially those tiny micro USBs or USB-C. I will cover sockets in a moment and plugs. This is a handy little thing. Some of you may have seen them hanging off the back of my phone. This is a phone. This phone here doesn't have that capability, and that thing just plugs into the socket and gives a wireless capability. So just because you don't have it doesn't mean you can't get it. This is an example of one. It unfortunately takes up the socket so you can't plug it in. But it's not a complicated thing. When I put that on the box, it makes my phone without wireless charging wireless. There's still phones being bought out now which don't have the wireless, and I can't really tell why. Like some flagship phones don't have it. They're handy little things, and you can get different sockets, micro USB, Lightning for Apple. Mind you, knowing Apple, they probably fail after. Apple's turns out telling the program that says fail after this period of time. Okay, and if you just have it on there without a case on, you're going to wear the thing out pretty fast. So I'll put it inside the case. And if you've got a really thick case, it's going to, a wallet, your wallet, yeah, you could not do it with a wallet because it's too thick. And even if you had a general phone with a wireless charger and you get yourself a wallet, you're not going to be able to wireless charge because a wallet just does, it's just too much distance. Okay. Some of you may have seen these on my phones. If you've seen Suzanne's phone, it's as thick as can be. Her phone, she's got a normal phone with a power bank all built into the one case. So it's called a battery case. They can make a phone last for 2 or 3 days without charging, which is good for some people, especially if you're traveling, you haven't got access to power.
So you charge up your case.
Yeah, your charge case, still little lights there. You know, it's got little lights there, and they're usually fairly intelligent. When you plug it into the case, because you've got an adapter, see how it's got the plug there and the socket there? It's just a pass-through. Usually, when you plug it into charge, it charges the phone 100% first, then it charges the power bank 100%. It's,
how does it use the power?
oh, and basically you press a button. If you see your phone running down on power, you press the power button and it kicks up and it kicks in just like a power bank, and that'll drain down. Then when it runs out, you're done.
Are they very heavy?
Yes, they nearly double the weight of your phone. You wouldn't want to have one in your. Oh, Suzanne doesn't. Puts all hers in a handbag. You've got a handbag. Doesn't matter because.
I'm not thinking for when we go biking for a couple of days.
Yeah, they are fantastic. They're not cheap though. We're talking between $50 and $150 for those. It's like half the cost of a cheap phone.
You don't have to charge a phone for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Only because you want the GPS.
Yeah, the GPS. And it's your safety backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we go for 3 days or 4 days, I mean, I take that power bank thing to plug into it for a update. It does all the time.
Yeah. But this is a way to eliminate having 2 devices with cables. It's on there, it's stuck there, and you're good. And you get bigger, better ones. You can actually get phones energized. You know the Energizer battery people? They make an Android phone that's 3 centimetres thick that lasts on standby for 40 days or 30 days or something like that. The same old theory. The bigger and the more battery got in it, the longer it'll last. Yeah. All right, moving on. I don't think I can tell you much about these. I think you know what they are. They used to be the standard. That's now the standard. That is Apple's standard, but they're probably going to move to this anyway. Internationally, I've been told that Apple are financially penalised. They have to pay a fine for continuing to use the socket that they currently use because they're not using this international standard.
That's why it's a universal.
Yeah, the U is universal. This is Apple only. I'm pretty sure Apple's going to move to that. Some of their tablets and stuff, I think they've already moved to that. I don't know tell you what that is. That's your other end of the other end of the cable. Mind you, USB-C. Well, with this and this, you have a micro USB cable. You've got that on one end, which plugs in your power bank or your charger. This will plug into your phone. Now, when you buy the latest model phones and flagship phones, the actual power adapter does not have a USB-A adapter anymore. It has a USB-C adapter there and the other end, so it's the same, the cable's same both ends. Simplifies things if you ask me.
As long as you've got something to plug
it. It's 240, no, but you got your 240 volt adapter comes with your phone if they sell you one.
Yeah, if they sell.
Yeah, otherwise you've got to go and buy one. And that's
the charge port that came with my phone, that little one that I have in my handbag, has got an adapter plug on the end of it. So I had to have that so you can plug in the cable to then plug into your phone.
So did it have one of these standards, did it? Can't believe
So
that.
mine come with a few different things. It's got, because this is USB-C,
Yeah, they both are, yeah.
but it comes with an adapter to go from a micro USB to USB-C,
Oh,
from
does it? Okay.
USB-A to USB-C.
Yeah.
A few
That's good. They
different
cover all
adapters.
bases. You know what Apple would do? Say, here's your phone, go buy one.
Yeah, so the Samsung, they don't really have a big.
Samsung's pretty good with that stuff.
And it was good because it meant that you could just have a USB cable from your old phone to your new phone to transfer it.
Yes, yeah, that's called a
Yes.
With the adapter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was usually didn't. Once you transfer something, you usually don't transfer stuff anymore, though.
No.
Okay, that's sockets. Just wanted to touch on those. This is the future of pretty much everything, I think. Until they think, wireless is actually the future. You're not going to see sockets or plugs on phones because that makes them really easy to make waterproof.
Yes.
But for now, that's the sockets you're going to see, plugs. Okay, getting towards the end of this presentation part. Dead batteries. What do you do before getting a dead battery replaced and how? As I touched on before, batteries only last a certain period of time. With Androids, it's almost the life of the phone. If you buy a flagship phone, like I've got a Google Pixel, if you buy, you usually can measure it by dollars. If you're spending $700 or $800 on a phone, in 3 years' time, it's justifiable to replace a battery for $100 to about $150 for a battery because you're going to get more life out of it. The more you spend, the longer it lasts, as a rule of thumb. But people who spend that much on a phone probably wouldn't hesitate to get the latest, greatest one anyway. So
That's a cheap price, $100.
I was just going to
I
say.
don't know where you're buying phones because that's not what.
Well, what's yours? I'm asking.
Mine.
Yeah, what
It's
model?
Samsung 10.
10 out of $700 phone, $800?
No.
I just
Well,
looked
give
at it
me-
the other day because I'm just looking at upgrading this.
Yeah.
Not the latest Samsung one.
Yeah.
The latest one was about $1,700.
Well, I can't-
The something which was still an upgrade on the S9, I can't remember what number it went to. It was $1,000 was basically the,
Yeah.
So you're $1,000 minimum, but closer to
Yeah.
almost $2,000 if you want the latest,
Yeah.
the 20 SE.
Yeah. That's whatever the best is.
I
Flagship.
upgrade before the end of my contract.
Oh, you're on
Onto a new
contract. Oh, okay.
contract. And then you don't pay for the phone, you just get the phone free, and you just keep paying your monthly fee.
You can't get flagship phones like. You might be able to get.
That's how I get all mine.
Yeah, but if you try to get a Pixel, you probably couldn't get one.
No, but I go from the Samsung, like the latest Samsung to the latest Samsung
Yeah.
every 18 months or whatever.
Yep. Okay. So it's not you pay for your phone. I find it very expensive in contract because I won't buy brand new phones either. I hunt around for a cheap phone, and I'll get it. Like that Google Pixels was worth $1,400 when it was new. I got it for $500, I think, and that was a year old. It's still a warranty.
So
Okay.
I'll just say, you sent me an email, my contract's due in a month, I want a new phone.
I don't even have a
new
contract.
phone.
I have a month-by-month contract. I might pay $10 a month for my plan.
Yeah, we still had the same thing, so that was bought under a plan, but the plans were literally paid out now.
Yeah.
Still fine, so.
Just keep in mind, if you do go to a phone shop and you are prepared to go for a contract like Joy does, what can you do for me? Be prepared to walk out if they don't give you a good enough offer and go elsewhere. Now, I just wanted to say, with batteries die on your phones. There's a couple of different ways they die. The obvious way, they hold power, they get less and less and less time. And you said you're suffering that already. How old's the phone?
Oh, no, something else is going on, the phone it'd only be
Oh, okay.
a year.
It could be battery.
Yeah, but it's like, it holds 512 gigs of data and it's probably about 80% full. So.
Okay, I'll cover that.
I think that's the problem.
Another problem with batteries, you know those the lithium ion polymer batteries I showed you, they're in a pouch. The problem with those pouches, when you're in a phone, they fit nicely, but if something goes wrong with the phone, they shorts, they fail. You've seen the videos, they swell up and they actually increase in size, they swell up and that actually forces the screen out. Actually, I think I've got a picture here of one. There we go. And it actually causes the screen to break and it'll crack and destroy your screen. Sorry if you can't see the detail there. See how it's got the screen separated?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen those before. Have you ever had it happen? No.
It's like Ethan's phone, we've just discovered the battery has swelled in it.
Yeah, and that's an
Back of it has
example.
swelled. Oh, that's very nice.
Don't you like that?
I'd forgotten I had it there. I'm just looking at the mine now, so going, yeah, his was more actually swelled at the back, thank goodness, and not the front of the screen.
If you do see swelling on your phone,
You know, a piece of paper and then.
if you do see swelling on your phone, if it's obvious that your screen has got this big gap and it looks like that, or that's what's happening inside.
Yes.
And if that happens, that can be quite dangerous because it can catch on fire, it can burn, it can destroy your phone. It can crack your screen. A broken screen can write a screen of a phone off sometimes.
I've ordered a new battery for it.
Yeah. That is a warning sign to say I'm going to die soon.
Took that off and put, you know, how long it took me to decide what colour phone I wanted.
Oh, the important part. Yeah, people, the manufacturers make beautiful phones, don't they? Mine's a beautiful phone. It's glass back, glass front. Now I'm going to put this ugly case on.
It's really pretty and stuff.
Yeah. Let's get moving on. Okay, a practical demonstration. So now I'm just going to connect. This is going to be let's see how it goes. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to connect this phone, bring it up on the screen. That capability. And I'll just show you what some of the settings are on this one. Now, the reason I chose this one is it's called an Android 1. And Android 1 is a standard. I've got a Google Pixel, which is worth a lot, but Android 1 has some of the same benefits of the Pixel, but built in a budget phone. It won't last as long, but it doesn't have any of the extra software. You're both Samsung users. So your Samsung built a lot of extra software in there by Samsung. If you use a stock standard Android 1 or a Google Pixel, all you get is Google software and there's no manufacturer modifications at all, which it's good for standardization. And it allows you to change your environment. Sorry?
Then you don't get all the cool stuff that Samsung gives you.
No, but that means you can't even get away from Samsung if you get stuck in the ecosystem. Apple's very good at doing that too.
Oh, yes.
They lock you in the ecosystem, they give you good reason to stay there.
Yes.
And Samsung's trying to do the same thing. And they're achieving it.
Yes, they are.
They've got some good stuff.
Because they can see the success Apple's had, that your Apple everything, you go Apple basically.
Yeah. So, I'm going to do a bit of technical stuff here.
How dirty it gets on the inside. How thin my phone actually is.
I know, that's
outside
right.
of the
That's
case.
exactly right, isn't it? How thin it is. Yeah.
I just remember when I got it, I didn't have a case that fit. And then I ordered, I think, 3 cases online when I got the phone, and had to wait for them to arrive. And I was just so worried I'd drop it because it was so thin and slippery.
It's sleepy, that's what I say, exactly.
But I bought a clear case, but it wasn't grippy. I thought it was silicone and it was going to be a little bit grippy.
Yes.
But it wasn't. It was just hard plastic and really slippery as well.
Yes.
So that's why I went for this one, because it had a little bit of grip texture on it. Still more slippery than
Hopefully I'm sharing the screen. That I think. Stop share there. Screen 2.
Yep.
Is that sharing?
Well, let's see, I can do something on the phone, we'll see.
No, it's not the one Zoom I'm talking about.
Should be. If you.
I said 2 and 2. Put up a 2
Yeah,
there, didn't
you
it?
did, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then put a box around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of that. Oh, change. Oh, no.
Or not.
Yes,
Then you sort of see it in the light and you go, oh, that's disgusting.
fingerprints
Well, I hope that's sharing on Zoom. Sharing, screen share. I think it's. Let's go full screen. This is a groovy feature of this. This is a TV or for mobile. control that from either end. Okay, so pretty boring, black background, boys can be. Let's start with some of the reasons. Okay. Remind me towards the end to talk about where to go to get your battery replaced and what to do in advance when you do have to do that. That'll be towards the end. Okay, what affects battery life? Including a number of apps. So I'm just going to go through a list of things which are common things that can affect battery life in your phone. Now, your phone's going to look a little bit different to this, but this is just generalising. So to check the number of apps that are installed on a phone, if the more apps you've got running on a phone, potentially it can reduce the battery life. Now, most of us probably know you can go to recent apps, there's not many on this one, and you can force close them. You know how to do that, do you?
Just the ones you have open.
Yeah.
Yes,
For instance, if I go, open that app, and then I go open this one, and then I go, okay, show recent apps. You notice I'm using gesture navigation, which is different to yours, but you know how to get the recent apps, don't you?
Yeah.
I've got these apps here running. Every extra app that runs there uses a little bit of extra power. Not a big chore, not a big issue, but every now and then, some people will go for months without actually going, I press on clear all.
I close mine all the time.
I do too.
Yeah.
I never have my Ben. You get on Ben's phone and he'll have 15 screens and the same screen open 6 times. Going, seriously, why press that button?
And it helps with the performance of the phone too, because the phones can get very slow and sluggish and all stuff you've got open. So
Yes.
every now and then, just clear that stuff can help it improve it. Mind you, if you clear it all the time, then open that application, you're using more battery power if you open it regularly. So what you should do is look at those recent things and say, I use that 50 times a day, leave it there, get rid of the ones I haven't used for ages.
Oh, really? Am I better off to do that? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people go clear everything. I bet you do.
I clear it all the time.
I do too.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't have that button. Oh, well, there's nothing there. Yeah, because I just cleared it. I close it.
Yeah, but what they can do, that means next time you start, let's say you made a phone call, close, and you clear it. Well, if you make 10, 20 phone calls a day, you have to press on the phone app, and it takes extra power to start an app up if it's not already running. So if you're using it reasonably regularly, once, twice, 3, 4, more than 4 times a day, leave it running. These are not big issues.
No, I have recipe for I can't do that.
Yes, I'll try.
But if you've got OCD, you just can't let stuff alone.
No.
Yeah, it's not a big issue. Keep doing what you're doing. I do it too because
It's like taking the light
suffer.
switches on and off. Yeah, it's the same sort of thing.
Oh, you got the two-way switches.
Well, no, just that my dad used to say that they leave the fluoro in the kitchen all day because it actually costs more money for them to start it up if they turned it on 3 times when they came in out of their kitchen,
Yeah.
rather than letting it run all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, rather than, so we just used to leave the fluoro in the kitchen.
And two-way switches. You've got to make sure they're both up and not one up, one down. When you've got 2-way switches on board.
Yes.
That's the OCD bit.
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully all your people online can hear me okay. Happy too.
So at night, sure, it will start. It's just at night, we'll shut it down when we go to bed.
Not even daily.
I don't even realise that I do it because I just literally, I just did it again then. It's just like I just.
Because you've done it so often. And as a rule of thumb,
I don't know.
it's only about 3 apps you probably use each day, so it's not a big. This is not a big issue.
3 apps a day.
3 regular apps you would use a day, like more than 5 times a day. Okay. If you use more than 5, 6 times a day, I would say leave it open and don't close the ones that have sat there for a day.
Okay.
Moving on. That's not our biggest power chore. That's just one of many. There's all the combination of little things that all add up.
Yeah.
So you need to know how and why to clear apps. Amount of data stored and synchronized, more so over cloud and mobile. A lot of people automatically go, oh yeah, sync to Google Cloud, all my photos. Well, there's a problem there. One, you've got to storing data doesn't use a lot of battery power because of the type of way the memory is stored. I think it uses a little bit, not really sure. But what the problem part is, you take a 2-minute video in 4K resolution or 1080p or whatever it is, then you go save. It saves to your phone, but if you've got it synchronizing to the cloud up into Google, just like Google would like you to do, not only are you using mobile data to do that, and lots of it, you're also using battery power to push a gigabyte of data of a video up into the cloud. That can use quite a bit of data. That's why when people take video and it's synchronizing, they go, boy, video uses a lot of power. Well, no, it's not just the video that's using power, it's also the synchronization. Mobile data sending uses more power, and mobiles don't have just a power level here. They rise and fall with the amount of demand that's put upon them. In fact, when you're using full mobile signal, let's say you're talking on the phone, you're transferring data, you're doing Google Maps, you're listening to music all at once, that's using a lot of mobile data. You could probably use 5 to 10 times more of your battery power on the particular mobile service than you would if you didn't have all those things running. So the more you do, the more you're going to use. Synchronization. I don't know. Tell me about your synchronizing. Do you synchronize your stuff to the cloud?
Yeah, photos.
Do you select only over Wi-Fi or over mobile? You've probably got a pretty big plan, have you? Yeah, okay, well, that's not a problem for you, but your battery's going to suffer as a result, especially if you do video. Photos, not so bad. We're talking, videos are huge. So that will use more power to push it up to the cloud. Not surprising, the next subject, next one is screen brightness. That is pretty much the number one thing that uses up your battery. Now, I'm not telling you anything you didn't know. And sorry, I'm supposed to be demonstrating up here too. What happened to me? Oh, sorry, I talk too much. Does anyone notice I talk a lot?
Really? My brightness is now come down to 33% already today.
Yeah, mine's gone from 52% to 38% whilst I've been here.
What, your battery?
Yeah, fiddling with it like just now.
So what was it, 50?
The case off, it was 52, and now it's 38.
Oh boy, that's a 1.5-year-old phone.
Maybe.
Yeah, I bet you probably
Well,
underestimated.
last year was a big day. Maybe it was the year before.
Okay. So
Anyway, it's still not that old, really.
I've shown you, I didn't, when it comes to synchronizing data, for the sake of this exercise, okay, I'll show you. You can do this on your phone as I do it too. Yours will be the same. So you go into photos. Is your photo the same symbol as that?
Gallery.
Whatever it is.
Gallery, you mean? When you say photos, gallery?
Oh, yours might be called gallery. That might be a Samsung thing. Does it look like, does a symbol for photos look like photos on there? That's Google Photos. Because Samsung has their own synchronization system too.
No, not anymore.
Oh, they ditched it.
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay. Like I think Google put pressure on them to use the Google one, and Samsung might have dropped it.
Okay, but anyway, so where am I going to go?
So, well, you're going to have to try and work around this in your photos. Now, usually they'll be in the top right.
In Google Photos, yeah.
Well, I'm looking in Google Photos. I'm pretty sure Samsung's moving to that. Yours may be too old. You may still be on the Samsung gallery. So you sort of have to fiddle with it and find this yourself. But you'll see in the top right, I can only talk on Google because that's a stock standard. Notice it says their backup is off. Because I take photos of serial numbers and all sorts of things and videos of this, that and everything else, I daren't synchronize the cloud because I run out of battery power, I run out of data too. Yeah. So I have backup, photo backup turned off. The trade-off there is if you lose your phone, you lose your photos with it. That's pretty fearful for some people.
That's why mine just go.
Yeah.
Okay, so the phone is on for me, sync with Samsung Cloud. Okay,
well, therefore it's synchronizing. So if you want to say battery power, turn that off, but consider you lose your phone, you lose your photos you got on there. Any photos from this point on, or you can usually say, watch this, I'm going to turn backup on, and it'll say, oh yeah, what quality do you want to think? And it says down here, backup over cell data when there's no Wi-Fi. So basically you can have Wi-Fi only or over cell or Wi-Fi. which can save a lot of mobile data doing that. Still use the battery back because it's got to transfer it over Wi-Fi anyway. Any questions on that particular one? That can use a bit of data there.
Yeah, that's possibly what uses a lot of mine.
It may do. Every little bit contributes. And it won't be any one thing.
Maybe an option to switch to OneDrive, which is to switch to Microsoft.
No, but that's still synchronising to OneDrive. I'm saying no synchronisation at all if you want to save your battery and your data.
But I prefer to save my photos and use my battery.
Yeah. Okay, well, you pay the price for that.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
All right, so I'm not going to be able to fix it. Maybe afterwards I can help you with it, but I used Samsung once upon a time, but I moved away because they tried to push the Samsung thing on me, the same as Apple did. Anyway,
Yes, I don't use any of Samsung's cloud storage or any of that stuff.
Oh, don't you?
Obviously, it's
because you want, why don't?
I use Google
Why?
because I always have.
Yeah, because you always have, because Google's always been there. Samsung came in and Google is now,
I trust Google.
you trust Google, yeah. Samsung and Google are now head to head, and you've got all these little Samsung apps on your phone. A good example is SMS. You can get a Google SMS app called Messages, which is this one down the bottom, second from the left, whereas Samsung goes, no, we're going to duplicate. You can have messages on the Google, but we're going to have our own Samsung one on. And we're going to hide the Google one, so you use the Samsung one, so you can't get away from Samsung because you're familiar. You'll have difficulty moving away from Samsung. Joy won't if she wanted to because she's using Google already. This is off the track quite a bit. Screen brightness. Let's just play with screen brightness. You go to settings. Oh, you probably didn't see that. There's a few different ways to get to settings. This one, we've got settings there. Display. Where's display? Oh, it's up here. Display. And not surprising, there's brightness. Now you can turn your brightness. Did you know that? Notice that got quite dark? No, you wouldn't. My phone gets dark. That doesn't up there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm changing brightness if it's not changing.
Okay.
I'm doing it online.
Oh, is it okay? That's an obvious one. I'm sure we've all played with that, and we all know that that affects your battery. That's nothing new. Adaptive brightness. Now that is something pretty awesome. See, it's adaptive brightness. Love these little tutorials they give you too. Here's what it can do. Adaptive brightness is it's got a little sensor on top of the phone which looks at the brightness of the room you're in and goes, you're in sunlight, you're going to need a bright screen, turn the brightness right up. And then when you go to bed at night and just before you go to sleep, you spend 3 hours on your phone looking at it. You don't want to be in bed looking at a super bright phone. So it goes, oh, it's a dark room, reduce the brightness.
If
So
I read my book at night, it puts it with an orange screen. So
well, you've got the orange factor. That's another thing again. That's not battery saving, that's eye saving.
Okay.
It's that's to do with sleep patterns and saving your eyes.
Which is also bad. That's all blue light related, even the brightness is
Yes.
blue light and
Yeah.
stuff, which is what you're trying to avoid.
And I've got a feeling it's quite possible. I don't know, but I think blue light, it takes more for a screen to display blue light than it does yellow light, like the orange colour. I think. These are just things I've learned over time. But adaptive brightness, that can be a great feature because when you need it bright, it's bright. When you need it dark, it's dark. Do you use adaptive? You do? Do you use adaptive? Okay, so you're both already using adaptive, nothing new. I don't use adaptive because I'm riding bikes, I'm walking, I'm out in the open in the sun a lot, and I just don't like having risk of a dull screen. That's just me. Wallpaper, that's something I should point out. Oh, I've got so many things to talk about in 1 minute. Wallpaper, can you notice I've got a black wallpaper? Can you now guess why?
Because it obviously saves power.
Yeah, and it's also not distracting. I find if I've got pretty scenes there, I'll sit there and gawk at the screen for ages. It's not a sexy look, but it allows me to focus on what I'm doing and saves power. Many other, and you can also see your icons better if you've got a solid background. I can't imagine. Could you two bring yourself to have such a boring background? No, okay. You need inspiration in life. I hear you.
It's about enjoying life.
Yeah, okay. Obviously, I don't allow myself to enjoy myself. Yeah. Okay. Screen brightness. I don't need to cover any more about that. It's pretty obvious. Adaptive brightness is a great way to have brightness when you need it or not. Turn it, if you're running low on battery power and you're really on your last leg, whether you like it or not, cut it back to low brightness and use it in the dark room, and you'll see it. Okay. Here's one people didn't realise. Your geographic location, where you're actually located with your phone, can affect your battery life. You know, I said before that mobile can use 5-10 times more power than in standby without even touching even without even touching the phone. It can use more power.
That's what kills us when we go hiking.
Yeah, when you're hiking, when you're in remote areas, your phone is pushing, it's going search. Yeah, I'm looking, it's using maximum power to get a signal and to transfer the signal, and you'll run out of power faster. So much so you would run out, you could probably halve the life of your phone when you're hiking, your battery life, if not more, and that's not even turning it on.
So how do you prevent that? Because the other thing I find, I've just shut everything down again.
I didn't say everything.
Because the other thing is, like, I think with the COVID app,
Yeah.
it forces you to have your geolocation on.
Yes, I'm going to cover COVID app and Bluetooth in a moment.
Okay.
The next subject, so geographic, there you go. That's so you're talking GPS. When I say geographic location, I mean physically where you are. It's not to do with what the satellite sees and gets. It's about your phone trying to communicate with that tower that's further away. It has to up its signal to get the signal.
The phone signal.
Yeah, the phone signal, not the GPS thing.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
It's simply where you are, and that's why Joy can be a test of that. When you're hiking, that's when you really kill it.
Yeah.
Bunyan Mountains is a good one for that because there's hills everywhere.
Yeah. I just find we're using the maps, just generally using the maps.
Oh, Goomba's the same, yeah.
To burn the battery anyway.
Well, Maps has got even more issues. It's using, it doesn't necessarily, with Maps, it uses where it works out. Do you know what triangulation is?
Yeah.
It triangulates where you are based on the phone towers.
Yeah.
But it also gets its signal from the satellite too. It's using two technologies, which uses more power.
That's what they said. I know that it definitely burns battery.
Maps can really take a toll because also with Maps you have to leave the screen on to see it.
Yes.
So screens on all the time.
Yes.
But that's not my point. My previous point was just simply trying to pull that signal from the phone tower. Any questions on geographic location?
You can't turn that off.
No, you got to turn your phone off. Turn your phone signal off to do that.
Right.
Your phone's got to be able to
So
communicate.
you've got airplane mode or something like that.
Oh, airplane mode, you'll last for ages, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's fine. So you
And when you're
can't
when you're hiking, that may be an idea. Turn on airplane. You do? Yeah. What about turn your phone? What about turning? Oh, you want your phone left on to track your location?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
To track that far up,
Yeah.
you go and water.
Make sure. I'm sure you realise this, but make sure the people you're hiking with are aware that your phone's in flight mode, because especially if you don't know the people you're walking with, even though you probably would. Yeah. Okay. And he would know your phone, because sometimes you grab someone's. Let's say it's an emergency. You grab someone's phone to look at it, and you go to use it, and you go. You try to make a phone call. I won't make a phone call. In an emergency, you don't think about these things. But because you're with David, he would know, turn on, off flight mode. Okay. Wireless features including Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi hotspot, and your mobile service generation. I'll touch on the least familiar one, and that is the mobile service generation. You know, we've got 1G, 2G, 3G, we're up to 5G now. They're working on 6G now, which is just really high-speed data. The more recent generation you got that your phone is capable of in your service, you have to have a phone that's compatible, the service that is also that service to utilise it. That's another reason why sometimes older phones work longer than newer, had a longer life, because they didn't have the latest generations. Because with the later generations, they keep increasing the radio frequency. Radio frequency means more power usage, bigger batteries, flatter batteries, and so on. So if you want to last longer, buy a 10-year-old phone. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get one, and the battery will be dead anyway. Okay, Wi-Fi hotspot. We've all used Wi-Fi hotspot, have we? Yeah, on your phone. Great feature. That was the first thing I used full on when I got my Android phone. give me mobility in this world.
Oh, it burns back.
Yeah, but it burns battery like nobody's business because it's got to do a lot of work. It's doing, you think about it, you've got this router at home, it's about this big and it's got 240-volt power plugged in all the time. It's using power from the power line. And what do you do? We get a battery and a phone to do it. It's transfers just as far and just as, in fact, the phone can do data faster, many times faster than the home internet. Like your home internet, you probably get 25 megabits per second. This phone in my hand here right now, which can run on 5G, can do, I think, about 100 or 200 megabits. The fastest NBN is not as fast as a mobile 5G mobile. As long as you're in the right place. The tower has to be, there's all these compatibilities, the phone compatible, tower compatible, location. But in theory, the phone can do faster than any NBN. And then there's 6G. We're talking gigabytes in speed, thousands and thousands of gigabytes, which is 10 times faster than NBN. Okay. Anyway, that was Wi-Fi hotspot. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that's a killer. Some people turn it on, forget to turn it off, and wonder why their phone's flat at 1 o'clock in the day. Wi-Fi.
Does it go off when there's nothing connected to it? Because I find if
No. Oh, some phones is a setting. Oh yeah, let's go. Yeah, okay.
because mine does. If I don't, like, if my computer's gone to sleep and it's
Yeah.
then
It's.
next thing you know, you're disconnected to
Yeah.
my.
I'm not doing very good at using this up here. Okay, let me show you. So I've got Wi-Fi hotspot. Yours could look different because it's Samsung, but you'll see, you press it, I go to a hotspot. Now you'll see here, we've got hotspot not there. So if I turn on, I don't have a SIM card in this, so I can't hotspot it. But there's a feature in hotspot, advanced. There we go, there it is. Turn off hotspot automatically when not connected. Some phones, I think my Pixel will do it. I can say if there's no activity from something connected for 10 or 15 minutes, then turn off hotspot. This one is either on or off when something's not connected. So as soon as you disconnect, it turns off hotspot.
Yeah. Okay.
That's probably a good feature for most people to turn on, unless you're like me, and mobile, you're on and off all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's hotspot. Any questions about that? You're going to have to play with yours to work it out. Do you take anything other than your phone when you go hiking? You take a tablet or anything? Phone's enough? Yeah, should be. And the weight.
Oh, my watch.
Oh, and your weight, yeah, it's Bluetooth, yeah. Okay. Wi-Fi. If you leave Wi-Fi on all the time, it doesn't use a lot of power. It's not a big issue. And the inconvenience of turning Wi-Fi off all the time is not worth turning it off, but it does use power. When you turn off airplane mode, Wi-Fi goes off anyway. I think you realise this, don't you? Yeah. But
I set now that my Wi-Fi turns itself on when I come here and when I go home. Otherwise, it turns itself off when I leave.
Why is that to save battery power?
No.
I actually find that
I did it one day and gave me the option. So
yes, because say mine actually, I find my battery lasts longer if I'm actually got the Wi-Fi at work, rather than my phone seeming to be searching.
Yeah, and that's what I was just about to say. If you turn Wi-Fi off, guess what it's going to use? Mobile, which uses more power than Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so that's what I found.
Wi-Fi is a better technology.
Yeah, actually come in here and I'll turn my Wi-Fi on. But that's the only time I'll turn Wi-Fi on. I don't really use
my advice
so you
is...
don't use it at home?
No.
Okay.
You've got internet at home, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Not NBN, no. It's mobile broadband.
Oh, okay. So you would rather
So
use
it's
your
no different.
mobile.
Look,
Yeah.
I've got just as much data available on my phone as I do on the home Wi-Fi. So there's no advantage.
70% of Australians probably should just leave their Wi-Fi on all the
I
time.
probably should, that's right, yeah.
And you, Joy, I'll probably say leave Wi-Fi on all the time, because if you use mobile data, it's using a lot more battery power to do that anyway.
So what's Wi-Fi called? So I didn't think that.
Yeah, I don't have it on. So if you go into a shopping centre or something where there's people who've got Wi-Fi networks set up everywhere, and my phone's not looking for them.
Yeah.
That still doesn't use too much power. I think the trade-off's worth it.
No, mine just turns itself on when we get here, and turns itself off when I leave, and turns itself on when I get home.
Is it based on geography? It looks at where you are and says, "Oh, turn on, you're here."
Yeah.
Okay, that could be. I don't know. Well, you use Google stuff though. There could be something to do with Samsung in that too.
Yeah.
Samsung's got some unique
It's
features.
a feature in the phone, so it'll be a Samsung.
Yeah. Whereas my Pixel does, I don't think it. Oh, probably does because I don't focus on that. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
And one you've probably been waiting for me to talk about is Bluetooth. Up until good old COVID came along, Bluetooth was generally turned off on our phones unless we hop in and out of our cars. But as a rule of thumb, people would just leave Bluetooth off most of the time and turn it on when they need it. COVID comes along, we get our COVID Safe app and they say, Bluetooth has got to be on for this to work. Everyone has got yours on all the time?
Yeah.
Did you used to have yours before?
Yeah. I think I always had on just because it was in the car.
Oh, okay. You too?
The car,
Connects to the car.
So
That's the only thing mine
and
really.
it connects to my headphones, like earphones.
Yes.
That's when I run and.
Yeah.
watch
As we've got
music.
more and more devices in our life that run on Bluetooth, and Bluetooth's improved too. Bluetooth used to be a real dog once upon a time. It just didn't work properly. They've really improved it. It's still got issues. And one of those issues is battery consumption. You could increase your battery. I reckon your Bluetooth can pull your battery down by about 30% over a period of a day. If you turn Bluetooth off, you probably get 30% more. But the inconvenience is not worth it, and you'd rather consider buying a new phone and not have Bluetooth turned on. And that's the world we live in. That's the way it is. The COVID Safe app requires Bluetooth as well, and I've got a COVID Safe app. Have you got it? Yeah. There's some people are very anti privacy. They're very private and they daren't share anything with anyone. And unfortunately,
tracking turned on all the time. So if I want to know where I was on a certain day, I can just go back to Google and have a look.
Yeah.
And it'll tell me where I went, where I shopped.
Tracking, it's very hard not to be tracked these days, especially these new Apple things that are coming out. Oh my, they got massive privacy implications, those things. You know those little tags they brought out? They've got the thing called it's on TV, you don't watch TV. I don't watch much TV.
I'm on the rock. How do you work it out?
Apple brought out a new product. Okay, you people are on the rock. Apple's brought out a product called an Apple ID tag. It's a little thing that goes on your key ring or in your bag or wherever it is. And it basically runs on Bluetooth and connects to any Apple phone which has Bluetooth turned on, regardless of whether it's yours or not, and sends out a message to the person that owns that's tracking it, where that is. And the problem with these is, I've been told, identifier, domestic violence could be an issue here because the hubby slips it into the purse or hides it in a bag somewhere, and he can track, let's say he's tracking his wife, he can track where his wife is at all times and she doesn't even know. All she has to do is go past anyone with an Apple phone with Bluetooth turned on and the notification goes to the person who's registered it.
Wow.
That's just another Bluetooth item, and there's privacy issues, and I'm not keen on this. No.
Yeah, that one's a bit weird.
Isn't that what I mean? Like, it's such a good benefit, it's such a good idea, like to help with kids and all that kind of stuff. But the downside is,
is
you
that
can take it and use
So
it.
we use like Google location sharing. So I can open up my Google Maps and see like where's David, where's Olga, where's Amanda, where's my mum, because they all have it turned on and they can see where I am.
Okay.
I can also see is their phone charged. You know.
it's good, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you're cutting out a piece of your privacy in your life to achieve that, though. That's all.
Yeah.
It's worth it, in my opinion.
I prefer to be known where I am and what I'm doing. Because then if I do the wrong thing, so be it. But if I'm not doing the wrong thing, it wasn't me.
That tracking stuff can be really handy. If you're traveling to someone's location, you can do it sort of share trip location, or Google share my device location. They're different. One's during a trip only, and one's share all the time, which is what you do, Joy.
Yeah, we have share all the time. Because you never know where it's
Bluetooth. There's nothing really to show you here on Bluetooth. Bluetooth's on, you're using power. Bluetooth's off, you're not using it. If you're desperate for power, Bluetooth can go off and you might catch corona, who knows.
And I've done that on my phone too. If I know a battery's running low and I've got no option to be able to charge it, I'll change the battery setting to the maxi, save, whatever it is.
And all the,
and everything goes, and it's just a black screen.
You go down to minimum brightness.
You can make a phone call, that's about it. And I've done that just because I need to get the phone through a period and I've got the option to charge.
Yeah.
I did that the other day when I was playing golf because I was scoring on my phone and it went right down and it's like, oh, I can't lose someone else's score.
Oh, no,
So I had
okay.
to turn everything off.
Yeah, so you've all been there, done it. By the way, this here is a power bank. You know it. That's a huge power bank that even runs a laptop. It's got a USB socket, a couple of USB sockets. That can charge your phone about 8 times. It's a whopper. Very expensive. And the fact that it charges on a laptop is exactly what I need.
I found yesterday to charge the podcasting desk.
Something like that.
Bigger than
Oh yeah. This has it's a 19 volt outlet, whereas usually these big things only have USBs.
Yeah.
Because that's a laptop. That's designed for Dell.
Yeah. Well, the one we've got like plugs in and it's got a little screw thing, so I won't pull out of the back of the desk.
And what does it do? It keeps the thing running, does it?
Yeah, like it will run
the console.
The console. If your power goes out or something,
Gee.
you can
That's a professional level item, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's redundant. It's commonly referred to as redundancy in technology
but
terms.
it goes into the same place that the power goes into, so you have to unscrew the power one. Like there's only one.
Yeah. You think get a piggyback, go in and keep that charge while supplying power. Gee, okay. Moving on. Bluetooth, unfortunately, we're losing 30% of our batteries because we have Bluetooth on all the time. Talking of batteries, I'm gonna have to get my easier power. Okay, we're going over time here.
14 items to my recycle bin of my photo gallery.
Well, empty it, yeah. It depends if it's in the cloud. The problem is if empty, is it synchronizing over the cloud too?
Yeah, well, it's in the cloud. I'm taking them off my phone because they're in the cloud.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. That was all the wireless. Those wireless things and screen brightness are the two most important factors that affect the battery. If you can turn off wireless stuff, if you can be in the middle of a busy city, chances are you won't have a problem with phone signals, so you'll last longer. But when you're hiking or whatever, you don't have that choice. Oh, yeah, right in there. That's where that power bank idea may be an option. Just they can be expensive.
Yes, if you're going to do something, is to
nothing. There's no golden. There's no silver bullet here. It's just going to improve and help.
Yeah. All those little things you say. It's just the little things adding up.
Yeah.
So you know what? If you got 10% extra, that would be a help.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because these things are like huge photos.
I know.
Photos like all
Yes.
2,000.
I don't think I need to really. I haven't got this in my notes, but I probably don't need to tell you that if you're watching movies, shows, videos, YouTube, anything which has got moving graphics, we're talking. You can kiss your data to some extent. If you got lots of data, doesn't matter. You can kiss battery goodbye as well. Moving things use data. If I did this all day long, I'd send my battery flat because it has a process to do that because it's moving. I'd probably wear my finger out too. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was all of the. Hopefully that helped. They're the things you probably already knew most of them. I just probably clarified some of those things. Things that can help save your battery power. If you can use adaptive brightness or turn your brightness down all the time, it's better. If you turn off Bluetooth, that'd be great, but that's just a no-go. Do you want me to talk about numbers when it comes to battery milliamp hour sizes, or is that just a lot of gobbledygook? Yeah, okay. Just last thing, what do you do before getting your battery replaced and how? There's plenty of these kiosks and stuff around. There used to be a really good supplier called iTechnician, which had well-qualified techs that could replace batteries, work on phones and stuff. But they closed up shop because there was no money in it, especially when Apple goes, if you replace a battery, we're going to brick your phone. Even a genuine, when you go to Apple and say, can you replace our battery? They go, no, we'll replace your phone. It's the way they roll. If you're going to get a battery replaced, before you go and do it, look after your data, get your data, transfer your photos off, put your data, so make sure and don't just look at your phone and go, oh yeah, it says it's synchronized to the cloud. Jump on a computer and go log on to google.com and have a look at your photos. Make sure it's how it should look. And if you know on your computer you can access it, then you can say, my phone doesn't have data on anymore. Your contacts, because when you get a battery replaced, they say, we might accidentally wipe your data. So make sure you back everything up. It's always an indemnifier for them. And I would do the same thing. I've done phone battery replacements in my past. I can do some, but usually I will either recommend go here, or if someone is short on time, I will go and handle it for them, and obviously I charge more time to do that. But a very good one that I could recommend is one called PCT Mobile, the PCT phones. They're one in Grand Central near Target. They're one of the bigger ones in Toowoomba. I think they own other kiosks around the place. They're not just got the one, but there's a guy that works there, one of the engineers. Engineers that work on phones have to have surgeon steady hands, because they're using microscopes to see stuff, especially if they're working on chips and what have you. But when you talk an engineer doing that, you weigh up if it's worth working on the phone. But they're very reasonable too. If they'll tell you up front, make sure you save your data, I might wipe it. Some phones, they have to destroy the screen to get to the battery. So if you replace a battery, like I think this Google Pixel I've got, they will break the screen getting it out. They say, this is going to cost you a screen and a battery. And then I go, $400 for that. Well, how much can I buy a new phone for?
Yeah, exactly.
What a wasteful world we live in.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. So I simply wanted to say, if you are going to go and get a battery replaced, take your time to get your data off. Hopefully it won't die on you on the spot. Take your time, get your data off, and say to yourself, when I hand it over, if I lost everything that was on there now, have I got it somewhere? Your contacts are on Google. Did you know you can go to log into Google and check contacts? Your photos are on there. Your videos can be on there. You can plug it in or Bluetooth your photos. There's ways to get stuff off your phone. All your app data. Different applications do different things. Some synchronize the cloud, some store in the cloud. Some you just lose it when you reset your phone. Then you got to go through. And it's the beauty of Apple. Apple is very quick and easy to restore a phone. You can sign in and everything synchronizes. Whereas with Androids, it's install this app, install that app, and muck around. Samsung's tried to overcome that, but I don't think they've done it very well. Okay, so we've gone well over time here. That concludes my session. I'm sorry if I rehash things you probably already knew. Right. Thank you. All right, got any questions? Come see me sometime. And in return, I want to charge my battery on your computer.